Damar Hamlin back in Buffalo 1 week after suffering cardiac arrest during the Bills-Bengals game. Hamlin was released from the hospital in Cincinnati yesterday morning, and transferred to a hospital in Buffalo. Bills coach Sean McDermott said the team is excited that he is back.
What an incredible recovery. Now, that scary moment on the field last week was a real eye-opener when it comes to the importance of CPR.
Yeah, many of you probably know about CPR, but our health expert, Dr. Kohli, joins us this morning to give us a refresher and teach us just a little bit more about it. Dr. Kohli, this is important, so thank you for being here.
Yes, what an incredible recovery in 1 week.
I know.
He's been discharged from the hospital, all because of that CPR.
Yeah.
Wow. So before we practice on the dummy that you brought, what do you want people to know about CPR?
So CPR, cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is a life-saving procedure that you have to perform when somebody's heart stops. And you know, the out-of-hospital mortality for cardiac arrest is 90%. So 9 out of 10 people that arrest out of the hospital will die. But if you give them high-quality CPR, just like Damar, you can double or triple their chances of survival. And essentially what you're doing when you're compressing the chest is you're their heart. You're beating for them. You're keeping their organs alive. You're keeping their brain alive, most importantly, until you can get them resuscitated. And we're going to talk today about an AED also, which is an automated external defibrillator, which is almost like hitting reset on your heart's electrical system when it malfunctions.
Yeah.
Two things that I thought were important before we jump into trying this out is that you don't have to do mouth-to-mouth anymore, right? So that's important. And as you said, because he received such incredible CPR, that kept his brain going because you're pumping the blood up. So that's why it's important to not only know CPR, but good CPR.
That's exactly right. So thank you for bringing that up. So we all often, didn't have people getting bystander CPR because people are afraid to give mouth-to-mouth to somebody. Now, if it's a loved one, mouth-to-mouth is still part of the algorithm. You should do it. But if it's a stranger or somebody you're not comfortable giving mouth-to-mouth to, don't worry, just do compressions only because that will still help their survival. Just get on that chest and start pounding. And to your other point, Corey, you want to minimize interruptions and you want to get on that chest as soon as possible. I'm talking seconds, 10 seconds at the most, not minutes, definitely not hours. So you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to figure out whether they need resuscitation or not.
This is an urgent situation, which is why people need to have this knowledge ready to go. So if you don't mind, I would love to see how we can actually learn how to do this.
Yeah, so let's go over it. This is Anne. So Anne has gone down, okay? So the first thing you do when you find somebody who's gone down, you place them on their back and you say, are you okay? And you want to hit them really hard on the chest because that stimulates stress hormones. So if they've just sort of fainted or something, that helps them to wake up. Then you put your head kind of over them to look and see if their chest is rising. You can put your hand over their mouth to see if you feel any breath. And then you put your finger just over their carotid pulse, which is right here in our neck. We should learn where it is on ourselves so we can find it on somebody else. All of that takes 10 seconds or less. And if you can't feel a pulse or you can't see chest rise, there's no signs of breathing, you get on that chest and you start doing CPR. So if I found Anne over here and I didn't have signs of breathing, I would say, you call 911, you get the defibrillator. And that means you should know where the defibrillator is in your workplace or other places. Then I take my hands, the butt of my hands, put it between Anne's nipples, and then interlock my fingers, lock my elbows, and put my entire body weight over Anne, and I start compressing. And I'm compressing at least 2 inches, and not more than 2.5 inches, and I'm allowing for recoil in between my compressions. Now, Jordan, I'm going to ask you to give me the beat of staying alive.
Right, we were talking about this. It kind of sounds silly, but this is actually really important because it helps people remember that beat perfectly.
That's right, because if you're going too slow, it's not effective. It's not high-quality CPR.
So it has to be too. So we're going to start with staying alive, staying alive, staying alive. And you feel silly doing it, but like you're going to be happy.
You've got to do
that
it
it's
in your head.
mind. Exactly.
You got it, because you got to keep it up. And the most important thing to note is if you're fatiguing, if you're feeling like you're getting tired, you call somebody else to take over.
Right.
So the CPR is the first thing that you start to do. You've called 911. Okay. You're getting me the defibrillator. Now I have the defibrillator. It looks like this. It's called an automated external defibrillator. And if I open it up, you'll actually hear it starts yelling instructions at me right away. And you'll see these 2 pads.
Follow these instructions.
Wow.
Make sure 911 is called now.
It tells you to take off the clothes. It tells you
Begin
where
by
to put these
exposing patient's
pads.
bare chest. Remove or cut clothing if needed.
It walks you through it pretty much.
Every single step. So even if you don't remember any of what we're talking about today, it'll tell you. Now, where you put the pads is really important because this is what delivers the electricity. So if I'm doing CPR, I'll interrupt it for seconds while Corey here, who brought the defibrillator, puts the pads on the chest. You want to position the heart in between the pads. So one pad goes right here and the other pad goes here because the electricity is going through the heart, essentially.
So like that?
Yep, so you'll rip them open, put the pads on. And then while the thing is charging, you're back on the chest doing compressions. And then when it says stay clear, deliver shock, that's when it'll talk you through exactly what to do. So now that we've gone over that, Corey, why don't you show us?
One more thing about the AED, which I thought was fascinating, is it's such a smart device that if it doesn't need to give the shock, it won't, right?
It won't. So, and you don't have to really worry about knowing what to do because it'll decide based on the rhythm whether or not that shock is advised. So if somebody went down because they're choking, for example, that doesn't get reset with an electrical shock. It'll say no shock advised.
Do you recommend every business have this or every home even have
Every
this?
school?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yes. Grocery stores, shopping malls, everything.
Okay, so interlock, elbows locked out, over Ann. You gonna give me a beat again?
All right, ready? Staying alive, staying alive. You feel silly again.
You
but
do.
Everybody.
Staying alive, staying alive.
But we're keeping Ann alive right
Yes,
there. with
and now you'll do that for
situation.
2 minutes. Okay, now what if it's an infant? You're not going to obviously
Right.
use both hands on the butt of both of your hands. You use 2 fingers, exact same spot, exact same beat. You just compress with 2 fingers. And if
Absolutely.
it's a child, then you use just one single hand. So a child is just one hand because, and don't worry about breaking their bones because sometimes high quality CPR does break their bones. And again, really important if you're getting tired to switch out.
And you do get tired, especially if you're kind of a petite person, getting over someone and delivering it that
force.
2 inches in. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but you know, the American Heart Association has studied this now, children learning how to give CPR in 6th graders. And the studies tell us that the majority of 6th graders can give high quality CPR and do it correctly. So every adult, every child really needs to learn this for themselves and for others.
We know that there are a lot of places that offer these services to learn how to do CPR. Where do you recommend people go online maybe to find those services or even just to see how they do it themselves?
You know, the American Heart Association has online courses, American Red Cross does, and you can even get CPR certified online.
Okay.
It's always nice to go and practice with the dummy as well, because when you find yourself in that situation, but at least learn the basics online.
A tool you absolutely
And know
want in
where
your
your
back pocket.
AED is in the building that you work or your kids go to school or whatever. Dr. Kohli is so important. I'm glad that you could find Ann and bring her in so that we could.
And Anna's
thank you.
alive. She's awake now.
Yay,
So
we did it. All right, Dr. Kohli, thank you. Ed?